When I was in Vermont, I won an award to go to the Vermont Studio Centre, and one of the people there he was Jeff Koons' assistant, one of 25, I think. And he was telling me stories about Jeff Koons because he can't paint. And each person had one colour or one section to paint. So, and then they pass it along like a factory line, you know. And that way you don't get an identity to each painting. No one could say that's mine because it's 25 people have gone into it. But they dreaded the time Jeff Koons came into the studio and sort of picked up a brush to add something, because it was always disastrous. So they had to wait till he'd gone away to retouch it. And you do question, but those guys would say, well, it's the idea, it's all important, it's the idea. They've taken a Duchampian concept and run with it, really.
And do you subscribe to that?
At the end of the day, the end result is the most important thing. And you shouldn't really question how they got there, because that'll be soon forgotten in 100 years. When the camera obscura came in, people questioned it then, whether that was the right thing to use for artists. Who questions that now? For me, I like little film clips, because he used the camera obscura in such a way, it looks like a film clip. But I think they're wonderful. Is anyone now saying they're bad painting? No, of course they're not. So, it's opposite to the way I work, because I do like hands-on, but I'm after something else. I'm after something a bit more emotive and a bit more direct, a bit more of me in there. They're cooler than me. In all ways, they're cooler than me, but they are. It's a more detached form of art. I mean, if I see Jeff Koons painting, I like the sculpture. If I see a painting, I have no emotive feel towards it. I have no response that way. It's more in the head. Whereas if I see a monk or a Francis Bacon or something like that, I get a visceral response. I mean, there's something else going on there that it really engages me. But then again, you can look at something like Rothko, and that really pulls you in as well. It's always a question journalists ask you. They always say who your influence is, and I tend to stumble at that point because I haven't quite got the touchstones and the lineage that a lot of other artists have got. In a way, I've had to invent my own territory, I feel. And at college, I don't know, maybe college is different now, but the way I was taught, there was definitely a route from Impressionism to Post-Impressionism through to abstract art and the big American colorists, and then through to minimalism and conceptualism, and to the present day. And Duchamp is somewhere in at the end of that. That's what we were taught. I could not really find a route for me within that, because all the artists I was looking at, it's like Rodin, and then the German Expressionists, and Munch, Nold, Hopper. Hopper was absolutely disgraced at our college. I mean, they dismissed him. They wouldn't even talk about him, referred to him as an illustrator. Hence, I didn't know about him until I left our college, and then I suddenly saw this guy. Well, who is this? And that made me think, well, they're not teaching, they're teaching a certain way, a certain orthodoxy. A lot of it built around the big American giants of painting, the Rothkos, Rauschenbergs, Jasper Johns. But not my guys. I didn't really like English art at that time. I mean, the pop artists, sure, because I was looking at people like Richard Hamilton. They were a great, huge influence on me, Richard Hamilton's work, when I was about 16, 17. I remember he did I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas. I saw that on our college trip, and I thought that was an amazing piece of work. Because that was a still from the Bing Crosby film. And I've only just thought about it, actually. He's doing he's done what I'm starting to do now, which is I'm negativizing a lot of the images, if that's the right verb, but I am making, with the model, I'm actually making negative prints of the reference material and using that in the work. And he did it with Bing Crosby. He made him look like he was a negative version. It was a pun on White Christmas, right? A bit later on, people like Bacon came into it. When he was starting up, probably I was still very young. But by the time I got to our college, he was starting to get international recognition. And English art at that time was so parochial, so suburban in its feel. And he dragged that out. He was on a European stage. And for me, that was almost like a mentor, someone you could really look up to and say, well, that's what I want to be. I want to be a European artist. And I will always thank him for that. And that's why I'm so happy now, because I get more attention in Europe than I probably do here. I mean, I met him once, but at the Colony Club, but it was more of a case of, oh, hi Francis, hi Graham, and I thought he was just sizing me up to see if he was someone he could have for that night. I didn't really fit the category. There's a very strong narrative feel to creative work in this country. I've always felt that. We're not a visual. We haven't got a visual culture. I've always thought we've got a narrative one. And that's why, obviously, we produce so many great writers. And why theatre's been always as a sort of a heartbeat of the country, Shakespeare. If we had a visual artist equivalent to Shakespeare, same time, perhaps we would have then veered towards being a visual culture. And maybe this is our time now. Maybe this is the visual time. You could say that the Gutenberg Bible was, like 1640 or something. And ever since then, it's been the word up to, say, the last 20 years. And now we're in a visual, this is a media age, images are getting swallowed up by people. I think with that, there comes a sense of responsibility, really. And especially in the light of the digital revolution, which is really taking everyone by surprise. And I think in the future, I'm sure there's words like integrity will come into it. And maybe intrusion, manipulation, and also perhaps veracity of the image. I think that they're going to be the big key words for the future. Where art fits into this, I don't know. But maybe Return to the Handmaid, maybe this.